ladies. Welcome to the Created Woman podcast, where faith meets fashion. This show is for dreamers, doers, and entrepreneurs, and of course, fashionistas. I want to help you discover your God-sized dream and purpose, because as created women, we are called to create for the good of others. So let's take the journey together. This is the Created Woman podcast, and I'm your host, Heather Frierson. Hey friends, welcome to the Created Woman podcast. I am so excited because today we are wrapping up our 3-part series talking to 2 women, dear friends really, who have been a part of the CW family as volunteers and are now launching new God-sized dreams. In today's show, we are talking to both Magin and Athena, who are besties, or what we like to call dream launcher friends who are launching something new together. What I love about their story is that it really reflects the whole mission of Created Woman, which is to help women to be equipped and empowered to be who they are created to be. I remember the moment vividly a few years ago while we were in a team prayer meeting when I realized that as an organization, we would have volunteers who were called to the mission of CW for a long time and help build it, but that also there would be women who would come in to serve in order to learn, be equipped, learn how and what it means to launch a God-sized dream while helping others. Then be empowered to launch out and start something new, to go into the world and make disciples, right? It would be a rotating door. As excited as I was to see women come in and out, it also meant that women would be coming in and out. But Magin said something in this show that really stood out to me. She said she had an awakening that there was more that she could do, and that you have to be awakened in order to awaken someone else. I mean, that's what it's all about. If we don't go, they can't go. It made me reminisce about the time when I was single and I was finally awakened to the fact of what God had for me. I was single in my late 20s, working at a church, and if you know anything about being in your 20s at a church, it can sometimes feel as though you are late getting married. And I began to feel like my life would really begin after I got married. Even though I was doing ministry and working in the purpose God had created for me in that season, I still felt like I was in this holding pattern. But there was this moment that changed everything, an awakening. I was sitting at the back at a women's event when I heard the speaker say, "What can you do now?" But I heard in my spirit, "What can you do now while you are single?" I knew at that moment, not only had I put myself on hold, but that also I had put what God could do through me on hold. That moment was over 15 years ago, and I believe was the moment God started putting the idea of Created Woman inside of me. Because it was at that moment that I realized I had a purpose for that season, and that God had things He wanted to do in and through me. It was a big awakening. I wrote about my journey in my book titled, "Now While You're Single, Walking Out Your Purpose Before You Say I Do." But since then, and through this whole journey of ministry through Created Woman, I've realized that we as women put ourselves in holding patterns all throughout our lives, not just when we are single. I was single and that was my stronghold, but yours may sound like this. When I get a job, when I have kids, when my kids are older, when I have enough money, when I graduate, next year when things are easier. The list goes on, but no doubt when we say these things and put ourselves in a holding pattern, we are putting on hold what God can do in us and through us. But friends, I want to encourage you and say to you that God has a plan and purpose for you today. The Bible says in Ephesians 2:10 that He created you for good works. Those good works start now, not when. So today, as you listen to Magin and Athena's story, I pray that you are awakened to the what God has for you in this season, right now, today. Well, hey, ladies, how are you?
Hey, good.
Hey.
How are you?
Welcome
Good.
to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Yes,
Me
this is
too. Well,
exciting.
huh?
This is exciting.
It is exciting because we're in a series of talking to Creative Woman team members, as we call them, CW family, who every year we say launch. You don't ever leave. I don't accept that. I just say you launch into a new season that God is calling you to. And that I can cheer for. And you guys are launching into something amazing. And I always say that Creative Woman, our whole mission is to help women find their purpose. And so we want to dive into what your next season looks like and how you got there, and just want to have a conversation. Is that cool?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, well, let's dive in. So first, I just want to ask, and the reason we're doing this together is because Magin and Athena, y'all been friends forever, and it seems like everything you do is together, which I love that. Is that true?
Yes. It's about right.
Yeah, that's about right.
Your friendship is beautiful, I just have to say.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all are very.
We do love each other.
Yes, we do.
That's evident. You're different, but yet y'all complement each other so well. And I've had the privilege of seeing y'all for about 3 years now, I think.
Ah, wow, I can't believe it's been 3 years.
Maybe
It's
so.
crazy.
COVID has added years.
Definitely.
Definitely. Well, let's first tell me how did you guys meet, and then we'll dive into the whole Creative Woman thing and what you're launching. But how did you two meet?
Okay, well, I guess I'll go with you. So, we both go to the same church, and it was really interesting actually how we met, because we didn't know each other at all, but I would keep seeing her, and I would, for some reason, be drawn to ask her, did you pick this up? Did you feel this? Do you sense this? And she would be like, yeah. And so I think we did that for almost 6 months to a year without ever actually having any real conversation. And then God just started speaking to my heart about some things. And I'm sure he started talking to Athena about some things. But there was one day where I was like, just telling Athena, it's like, I think we're supposed to get together and pray. I think we're supposed to meet, because there's something that God wants to show us that, we're not going to be able to have unless we come together. So we just decided to meet one day, and we met in the garden of our church and started praying together. And from that moment on, we have not stopped talking. I mean, it's really amazing to have a friend like Athena. I've never been able to just sit and talk and talk and talk. And literally, I tell my husband all the time, there's never enough hours in the day or weeks to finish a conversation. We could just keep going, because it seems as though that he's given us so much download between the two of us that when we come together, it sparks and it ignites and it brings fire and it brings revelation. And so we've just been excited to meet and hang out and get to know each other some more. We are definitely finding out about each other all through these years too.
I think, how long ago was that? Is that how you remember things?
Yeah. I want to say it was about 4 years ago. I think it's about 4 years ago. And we came together. We both had kids in the youth group. And so we also both had the youth on our hearts to pray for. And so we spent that whole first year together, once a week, praying for the youth and praying for the youth group at our church and praying for the youth leaders and praying for our kids. And so that was a really good time. I mean, and we got to know each other. And so we never stopped. After that, we just kept going and hanging out and stuff.
I love that, because we always say, and it's just so, I think women do it so much better, but that we have to have a girl tribe, a close friend, and just a circle that spurs us on. Otherwise, I don't think I'd get anything done if it wasn't for my girlfriends.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that about y'all. And then about 3 years ago, we were doing Gather Her, and y'all started attending Gather Her. And that's how I first came to know the duo, Magin and Athena. And correct me if I'm wrong. The first time I think I met you at Gather Her you were there. I remember y'all standing up, but then I also remember we used to have these mastermind groups, and we were in a mastermind group after Gather Her that night. Like we would do like 30 minutes, and y'all both were in there. And I think that's the first time that I remember having a conversation. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the first most conversation besides just meeting you, because we actually went, the very first Gather we went to, it was at the furniture store. I don't know what that is called, but and then it moved to the Riata. So that, and then there is where you had the very first mastermind, and so we got to attend that, which was amazing.
Yeah. How did y'all come in? I want to get to your purpose, because that's our whole point of this. Is I want to walk women that are listening through the process of how you had different seasons. You came into Creative Woman as a guest, you started volunteering, and then in the midst of volunteering, or the end of last year, when we asked team members, is God calling you to stay or to launch? You guys launched a ministry together. So before we get into that, I want to know really quick, how did y'all even find out about Creative Woman? And tell me, each of you, one thing that maybe helped you in this journey.
Okay. Well, so I found Creative Woman because I was scrolling through Facebook, That's what I do. So I found one of your little ads that was talking about you meeting, and actually previously to that, for about a month, God had been highlighting Shoreline to me for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw your face,
often.
Yeah, I saw your face and I saw your name, and I remembered that I knew you from Shoreline way back when I went, and I was like, oh my God, okay, so I think I'm supposed to go to this. So, of course, then I text Athena, hey, do you want to go? And so anyway, so I remember that first night that we showed up, and it was amazing because the presence of God when I showed up was so prevalent, and there was so much peace in going. There was a joy and excitement. And I remember making the comment to Athena of feeling like, for the first time, I was in a place where I felt no judgment from a woman.
Wow.
And that was amazing to me, because I have been in all kinds of groups and things, but there was absolutely no judgment. There was no condemnation. There was no sense of jealousy. There was a true freedom when I went on that first night. And that was what was so amazing. And so that's why I stayed. Because the women, what you've cultivated there, a created woman, is really fantastic. So anyway, I'll let Athena keep
I feel like we can drop the mic. I just want to tear up because, I think that's super hard. And I don't attribute that to me, all of it. But to cultivate a group of women that there isn't jealous, I have noticed that as well in this group. There's maybe been one or two, and we've kind of weeded those girls out. Because that's not what we're about. And just to hear that, it's a blessing. That's a huge blessing, Megan. So I appreciate that, because I feel like God brings the right women at the right time. And it's been great. Thank you for that.
Sure.
What about you, Athena? What was maybe one thing that you took away from your volunteer? Because you were in production. Yes. You helped behind the scenes with Stacey McVeigh, and that girl works. And I know that
she's good at what she does.
So are you, by the way. So are you. You got that show running. You knew how to do it. So what was one thing that you came away with from Creative Woman that you feel like was the thing that helped during this season?
So with Creative Woman, what really stood out to me was all the girliness, in that I came there and I was like, I could be a girl. Like I can be all things girl, and it's not going to look the same as every girl. But it's going to be my thing. But I just like, I could be a girl hair. I could like fashion. I could like makeup. I can like to do my hair, which is all things that we should be taking care of ourselves with and stuff. But that I fell into that, like this whole girl stuff and being a female and being empowered to be a female, like that. And then just all the speakers, and all the empowerment. Creative Woman has really created a movement and a team of women that really empowers each other and spurs each other on to do the works of the Lord that the Lord has created each individual woman to do. And that is what it's done for me. It's just cheered me on. I found friendships and almost like mentorship coaching type stuff to do what it is that I'm called to do here on the earth.
Yeah. Can I say something to that? Can I add to that? Just because I know that in the process I've been praying and asking God about this podcast actually, and like to go back in my mind as to how it all started and how he moved and what was a common theme behind it. And I keep hearing the word awakening. And that is because in the process of going to gather her and then becoming a volunteer on the Creative Woman team and things like that, I realized that for me, I was in a place when I started there that I knew that I wanted more, but I had no idea what that looked like. I didn't understand what I was supposed to accomplish. I didn't understand that it was okay to have what I would call a quiet season versus a full-on I'm working and career season. I didn't realize that all of like just being raised in the church, you know, the whole concept of what it means to quote have a ministry or be called to a purpose. The word purpose is so vague. And realizing when I stepped into Created Woman, there was an awakening. There was an awakening in my spirit. There was an awakening in my mind at the thought process that I was actually capable of doing something other than what I was doing. And so for me, the whole thing has been about an awakening and realizing also that you have to be awakened in order to awaken someone else. You cannot awaken someone while you're asleep. And so that to me has been so valuable from what we gleaned, or what I gleaned, I should say, from Created Woman and Gather Her and all the women that have been there, and just realizing the support system that you can have when we actually come together with no agenda for each person, but just being able to be, and being able to be actually gives you permission to awaken without any expectations, I should say. There was no expectation. It was just you be who you are supposed to be, and who you are supposed to be is perfectly okay with all of us. Wow. It, you know, so anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Guys, I think you're totally ministering to me and what I needed today for sure. And that's something that I feel like you both brought to the table throughout the past 2 years was, or 1.5, whatever it is, I don't know what COVID is, was that there was a level of wisdom that you both brought. And I remember one of the first nights that you were both active volunteers. And you both spoke into the team. We prayed because we realized the place that we were at, we were no longer going to be able to meet in. And you both spoke into the team, into me, into the ministry of what God was seeing, what God was doing, and what you were seeing. And so, you know, and I think it's so valuable. And one of the reasons, like today, before this podcast, I'm working some behind the scenes technical stuff. And I literally was so frustrated with some technology stuff. And I've hired someone to fix some technology stuff. It's not my jam. And I sat here for like 10 minutes for the podcast. I was like, Lord, I just want to sell subscription boxes so people can gather and women can know Jesus. I don't care about all this technology stuff. I just want women to know Jesus. Yeah. I hate this stuff. And then 10 minutes later, I get this, and y'all are such like, okay, I can get through the hard to get to this. So thank you for that, because I wasn't expecting that on this podcast, but I needed to hear all of that. And now I just want us to all get back together and COVID be over and just meet face to face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hi, ladies. It's Kate Suquette here, your fashion correspondent turned into podcast co-host, and I'm so happy to be here with you on the Created Woman podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. Since we here at Created Woman are all about faith and fashion, we've decided to bring you a new fashion segment during each show. So this month, I'm going to share a few tips about fashion and interior design with you. My first fashion tip is to up your athleisure game, ladies. No more yoga pants and leggings. We've all been there, done that, and we've got the closet to show for it. But now that athleisure is in full effect, I encourage each and every one of you to go out there and buy some really cute, little jogger pants, something it's an actual pant. And some nice, cute, comfy tees that aren't your husband's. I'm very guilty of wearing my husband's t-shirt. So buy some new comfy tees that are fit for women. If you need to dress up your athleisure game, just throw on some heels and some jewelry, a little lip gloss, and you are good to go. My interior tip for the month of March is to add some black. Don't be afraid of black. I know that the modern farmhouse is everywhere, or just that farmhouse vibe is absolutely everywhere, but you don't have to go farmhousey with it, ladies. You can just do some black iron and really modern lines, and I promise you, it will totally up your game. Just last week, I added some black lampshades in my dining room, and it is just really changing the life in there. So don't be afraid of black. Last tip for you. Third tip this month is a self-care tip. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you to put yourself together a little bit every day. This doesn't mean curl your hair, put on a full face of makeup. All this means is take a shower, put on some clean clothes, maybe a little body spray. A little tinted moisturizer and brow gel goes a long way. It's not for anyone else. It is for you. Take some time to do some self-care for you this month. Okay, ladies, don't forget that if you want faith and fashion delivered to your doorstep, subscribe to our monthly faith and fashion subscription box. This box is designed and curated to get you out of the box. So check out the show notes on how to subscribe and let us know what kind of fashion tips you want to hear from me on the next show. Just head over to Instagram or Facebook to find this podcast show image and drop it in the comments. We'll see you there. Okay, back to the show.
And I'm going to speak for Megan and I, because we're in some of the same things. When COVID hit, this thing just came on my heart, and Megan's too. We just got so hungry to learn our gifting and our spiritual gifting and hearing the voice of God. And so we just, during COVID time, that we just spent that whole year diving into a lot of online training and listening to different speakers and learning about our gifting that we carry and how we can use it to benefit others, love others. And so we went to this conference, and where this guy is doing a training. And so he has a school called Emerging Prophets. And so we jumped in with both feet and jumped in together. And so we came back and started that week. And so we are in a 9-month program that we launched into, that God launched us into. And so we're learning right now. We are almost done with our training to be certified as a prophetic consultant. And what that does is that brings breakthrough. We consult people to bring different strategies of what they need to bring breakthrough in areas of their life.
That's awesome. Where was the conference again?
The conference was in Ontario, California.
So you had to have a sense, I feel like, that was a little bit already of your calling, that you knew that was a prophetic gifting was on your life.
Yes. Yes. I did.
Wanted to dive in more. What I love about that is I feel like we as people, not just women, will be like, well, I'm talented in this and God's just going to use me. Right. And he will. But there's also different levels. You know, one of my favorite verses is get wisdom. And you guys are taking the gift that God gave you and going to get more wisdom around it. It's just like a musician. You might be talented in music, but you're not going to be a great musician, guitar player, pianist if you don't go get wisdom and have training. And so even in the prophetic, which can sometimes be like people like, woo, you're, you know, it's true. People would think it's crazy, but it's in the Bible. It's a gift of the Spirit, all the things. And not everybody has it. You have it, but you're going to get to where God can refine you and have covering. So Megan, can you dive in a little bit about that, about how the course works?
Sure. Essentially what it is we meet every week online, of course. It's based down in California. So we're online, we're with a group of other people. There's the training. He talks about the do's and the don'ts, the shoulds and the shouldn't.
What's a don't? Tell me what a don't is.
Do not give advice. That is super hard. Do you know how hard that is? You know how hard that is when you're hearing someone come through and you're like, oh my God. And you have to ask a question as opposed to actually giving a statement. So yes. So learn.
There's one more that I want you to share, because I remember seeing you at Gina's book party. And there was one that we all started laughing at. I want you to see if you remember. It was something about going up to a stranger.
Going up to a stranger.
It was a big don't. Don't go up to someone you don't know.
Don't go up to someone you don't know. And I don't know, but there's a lot of
there's a lot of them. So I was all laughing, like, don't go up to a stranger, be like, God told me to tell you. Like, what?
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. That's definitely a no. You want them to run in the other direction, you can do that.
See, that comes with training, right?
Yeah, yes. It totally comes with training and understanding and practice and learning how to. It's actually, for me, I'm realizing that it's about renewing your mindset.
How so?
What the training is actually doing for me is teaching me how to think. Which I know that sounds really interesting, but really it is. Yeah. It's training me how to think, because, you know, when you look back at the classical teachings and the word, the rabbis, their whole teaching was based on questions. The younger students memorized, and then they hit a certain level between the ages, I think, of 10 and 15 or something. And their whole training was about questions. It was the rabbi would ask the question and their response had to come through in a question form. And it was because they had to think back and forth. And so I feel like that is, you know, that's how God actually speaks to us, is through questions. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why he asked Adam and Eve, well, who told you that? Who told you that you were naked? Well, he already knew the answer. It was because he wanted them to think it through, you know, like, well, I guess, you know, this and this and this. So it's the retraining of my mind for this has been an absolute journey. I can say that. It's not something that comes naturally to me, but I can tell you it definitely comes natural to Athena. It's definitely a gifting on her part. She'll say that it isn't, but it is. And so questioning things, and not questioning things as per se, like, well, I don't know about you, or I don't know, not that kind of questioning things. I'm talking about like actually learning how to ask a strategic question to get an answer for someone, for them to actually have their own answer. Mm-hmm. Instead of you giving them the answer it's brilliant. And because it's God's strategy.
That is what God does. He said,
it's exactly right.
He told you, and where are you? Like, he knew, but it makes you question then, you know, who told you that? And I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. So the format of the class is that we go through the trainings, but also in the trainings, we are supposed to be practicing and having consultations, and practicing them and getting used to it, getting our feet wet and things like that. So it's just something that we're stepping into, definitely with both feet.
Yeah.
I should say, I feel I'm like up in the
I
water up to my neck, trying to like tread water here, the whole time, but it's good. It's good exercise.
Yeah. And you're doing it with a friend. And I think just for women listening, like that might seem so far off for them. Like, well, I'm not prophetic. And that's why we share all kind of different stories from different, people where they're launching, but you're doing it with wisdom surrounding it. You're doing it with a friend, but you're not going.
Right.
And I think that's the main point. We so often wait when we feel like God has said to go, and we just go, well, let me wait till these 4 things line up. No, he said go. And you're going, but you're going in such a beautiful way with a friend and encouragement and getting wisdom. That's I love that you're using your gifts, you're getting wisdom, you have a friend, but you're going.
Yeah. Our yes is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think of each of you one thing that you want to accomplish in this next year. I don't know if that's possible to narrow it down with something like this, but what has been on your heart with like, I hope this year I learn or I get to, or what does that look like for you?
Athena, you can go first.
For me, it's I struggle with this. I ask myself this question a lot. The reason why I struggle with it is because I'm a huge visionary. And so I have so many ideas and dreams. Like doing this is just one of them.
Yeah.
And I very much believe that, the season and the time will come to accomplish every one of them. But when I look ahead at the 2021 and place myself at the end of it, I want to have been able to accomplish parenting well. Like I want to be able to have accomplished motherhood well with my kids and where they're at right now. And I want to be able to have accomplished marriage well in connecting with my husband in more ways than last year even.
Right.
I want to be able, so right now I feel like it's I feel like God is speaking, like he's putting on women's hearts a lot of different things right now, a lot of creative ideas and their dreams to like go after them. And he's doing the same thing with me. And I just right now I feel like it's so important. I just want to just keep on saying yes to God and whatever he has for me. This year, I mean, we all went through the whole COVID year, and this year seems like it's no different. But to keep my focus is a huge strategy for me right now, to stay focused on the things that God has for me and to stay focused on my yes and keep moving ahead one step at a time, no matter how small that might be. Because in the end, I know that it'll create a beautiful rainbow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, one step at a time, one dream step at a time, but saying yes is the biggest. Megan, what about you? What's when you look down this next year, what's maybe the one or thing you want to accomplish?
Well, so like Athena is talking about with her family and things like that this year is, well, actually it started last year and realizing, okay, well, I only have a couple years left with my oldest. So my real heart and my passion is that my kids would actually have encounters with the Father this year. That is priority on my list, on my heart and my mind, my soul, my being, that I would be able to lead my kids into encounters with him, whatever that looks like. I don't know what that would look like. So that is first and foremost for me. But as far as for myself goes, that Well, my goal, I guess, right now, what I want to accomplish this year is that I would grow in the revelation knowledge of who he is, because I'm realizing that there is a place where I've grown to right now, but I'm also realizing that there's so much more. And a couple months ago, or oh God, I don't even remember how many long ago it was, but I had a vision of the tree of life, and I saw an open door in the tree of life, and behind it was this land, and it was so amazingly magical, for the lack of other words, that I'm just like, God, I just want to go there. Like, I just want to go to the next place. I want to go to the next level with you. I want to understand more. So truly, like, my heart is about, well, okay, maybe take another couple steps back. Sorry. So I keep seeing a banqueting table all this time too. This last year, God has just been speaking to me about the banqueting table and inviting people to the banqueting table and letting them realize what they have in him and through him and who they are. And so I think this whole thing about what I want to accomplish is that, first, I want to go deeper. And second, I want people to come along with me. I want to be able to bring people with me in the journey of understanding who he is and how much they actually have available to them in peace and prosperity and in all of those things in his love. I think that's, I'm trying to sum it all up. Sorry. But that seems to be kind of like where I'm headed.
I love it. That's a big year for both of y'all.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm excited to watch you guys. I, have had a complete peace and excitement for you guys when you said we're launching and this is what we're doing. To me, that's what Created Woman, when you come into Created Woman as a volunteer, that's what's supposed to happen. You have some women that are called to the ministry of Created Woman that stay because they're called to minister to women in that way. And then there's volunteers and family that come through so that God, I love the word that you used, Megan, can awaken them and say, yes, there is more. You too have a purpose, and get your training, get whatever you need here, and then let's go do this. And I just love that you both grabbed onto that message and were open to what God had for you next. Before we close, I want you to think about this sentence and end with this sentence. If you can sum it up, because we are created women. So I want to know if you can finish this sentence. I was created to. Megan, you go first.
Okay. So I was created to awaken the hearts of the lovers of the Father.
I love that. Athena, I was created to.
Mine is kind of similar, but I was created to love and love others with the Father's heart.
So beautiful. Well, we're cheering for you guys. We love you. Thanks for coming on
Thank
the show.
you.
Thanks for having me.
We love you too.
We love you.
Wow, I think I need a little bit of Magin and Athena in my life. How about you? Good news is we can all follow them at anchored_together. As always, you can check out all the links for the show in our show notes, from how to follow our guests to how to subscribe to your Faith and Fashion box. Thanks for joining us today for a dose of faith and fashion. I'm Kate Suquette, and we'll see you in the comments on social media. Ciao.